goes, oh, did you guys dress her up or whatever? And they're like, what? No, she's a witch. And so they're talking for a while, and so he's all like, did you guys dress her up? And they're like, no. Yeah, we did. But she's a witch. We need to burn her or whatever. And he's like, there is a way to figure out if she's really a witch or not. Now, how do you know how do you kill a witch or whatever? And they're like, burn her! And he's like, and what do you use to burn a witch? And they were like, other witches? And they're like, no! And then someone else is like, oh, wood! And they're really dumb people, that's what it is.
Apparently. Anyone who has watched Wizard of Oz know that it's from water. Kill witches with water.
Anyway, so they were like, so he was like, and what do you use to burn a witch? And they were like, other witches, and they're like, no, wood, or whatever. And he goes, okay, so how does a witch catch on fire? And so they're like, trying to figure it out. And they're like, kind of standing there. And he goes, and they're like, oh, because she would be wood too. And they're like, yeah. So if she's wood, and what happens to wood when you put it in the water or whatever? And they're like, sinks? No, it floats. Wood floats when it's put on the water. And they're like, and what else floats? And they're all like throwing things out. And he's like, no. And then this guy is like, a duck? And he goes, yes, thank you. So if she can float like a duck and like wood, then she must be. And they're all sitting there, and then they're like, oh, a witch!
How does that make her a witch?
Because she can float on anything. I don't know. But after they did that, then they're like, let's go find out if she floats or whatever. And so they're taking her away, and I sat there for a second, and I replayed the whole thing in my head, and then I just died laughing because I'm like, what was the point of all of that? And so they bring her, and they put her on the scale. They put her in one thing, and then I guess they put a duck in the other thing, and then they take out the measures from underneath the weight thing, and they kick them out from under the lady and the duck, and then like at first she goes down from the duck, and then she's suddenly lighter than the duck, and they're like, she's a witch, let's burn her! So they take her, and she goes, oh, she's like, dang it, like, I don't remember what she said, but she was just like, oh, she was like, I can't believe I got caught, or whatever. So they take her, and then the guy who I've been talking to all of them, he turns to Sir Arthur, and he goes, how did you know that it was a duck or whatever? And he goes, oh, I am Sir Arthur, King Arthur or whatever. So he's like, oh, your highness. And anyway, so he becomes the first knight, and so they get all these knights together, and then they go and they're in search for Camelot, and they're all riding invisible horses, while people with coconuts are in the back, like, following them and everything. And so they're running, and they're like, Camelot! It's just a model. Shut up, let's go! So they go, and they're heading for the castle. And then they're all like partying and singing at the castle, and then suddenly after they're all done with that, then it goes back to them outside, and they're like, actually, let's not go to Camelot, that's a silly place. And they keep going. As if that never happened, that was like all their imagination. Anyway, they come up to this castle. This is all I watched. Okay?
I'm listening.
You literally have to see it, but it's not going to be as funny now that I'm telling the story. I just haven't fun telling the story. And anyway, so they go up to this castle, and they're like, hello! Or King Arthur is, or hello! And they're like waiting there for a minute, and then he keeps like yelling it a couple times, and finally this guy, he's like, who's there? And they're like, I am King Arthur, and I'm here to do this and this and this or whatever. And, oh yeah, by the way, they talked to God too. And God told them to go and find the Holy Grail. So on and so forth. Anyway, so they're like, we are here to talk to your master. We need a place to stay and to eat, and then if your master lets us do that, then we'll let him come with us in search of the Holy Grail. And the guy is like, but the master already has one of those. And they're like, and the king's like, what? And the other guy's like, he said he already has one of those. And the king's like, what are you talking about? He already has one. And then the guy, I guess he said to him, and then he turns to like all these other guys that are like hiding, and he's like, I told him he had another one, and they're all like laughing. And they're all like, whatever. So he starts yelling back down at them, and they end up getting in this fight. And the guy on top of the castle is French, and the rest of them are Britons, you know, and he's all like talking. He's like getting really mad at them, and I don't know what led up to it, but he goes, you better go right now, because your mother is a hamster and your father smells like elderberries, or something like that. And I had seen that quote so many times.
Oh, right.
I was like, oh, I know where it comes from now. And then he's like, you better leave right now, or I will fart in your general direction. And so he starts going on with all these really stupid things. And then they're like, get the cow! And so the guys get a cow. And then they turn back, and so King Arthur and his men are watching, and then suddenly, whoop, boom, and you just hear this moo, and this cow is flying in the air, and lands, like, right on top of one of the coconut guys. And they're carrying all the stuff, too. So they're like, and then suddenly this cow just drops, and then suddenly all the guys from behind the castle are throwing all these animals and just throwing everything you can believe over that wall. And so they all go hide, and then they're, like, the guy who was his first name.
Apparently this part is really funny.
It's not that funny, I just realized.
No, I can't.
I just so
What?
Anyway, so the guy's like, King Arthur, I think I have an idea. It's not that funny. I don't know why I'm laughing. So he's like, King Arthur, I have an idea. And then it like skips as if something later was happening, and then just all these odd noises are happening, and the French guy is up on there, and he's like, and you just hear all these noises like, break up, you just hear like the squeaking and stuff, and he's like, just looking around.
You look like a chicken.
It was funny how he did it too. He's like, just looking around everywhere, and he goes, what is that, or whatever, and so, and then this like big thing, duck or rabbit or whatever it was, I think it was a rabbit, it made out of wood. It was huge, and they like are pushing it up to the castle, and then they run away, and I thought, and I was pretty sure I knew what was happening, but and then it shows all the guys again, and so the French guys come out, and they're like, yeah, let's take it in. So they take in the duck, the rabbit or whatever, and so King Arthur's like, okay, now what's next? And so the guy's like, okay, now me and that guy by nightfall will jump out of the rabbit and we'll get them or whatever. And the king is like, wait, say that again or whatever. He goes, he's like, who would go with you? And the guy's like, me and blah 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 and blah 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 are going to jump out of the rabbit and get them. And King Arthur's just like, and so like all these guys start face palming, and he's like, oh, we're not even in the rabbit. Like he didn't even, they were all just sitting there, they weren't even in the rabbit.
Gosh.
And I was like, yeah, I saw a problem with that a long time ago. And then suddenly, whoa, here comes the rabbit flying, and like, he's gonna, and that's all I remember, because I guess they, oh yeah, then they started talking about some Robin the Brave or whatever, and that's pretty much where I stopped it.
That was a great play. Would you like to say how happy? She didn't know I was recording her.
I don't like it very much.
No, I thought it was very entertaining.
Of course you do. I'm tired.
I've been recording for about 10 minutes now. But I'm